will call this meeting to order. The October 8th Animal Control Ad Hoc Committee meeting. And would anyone like to volunteer to give the invocation?
I'd be glad to.
Yeah, thank you, Jay.
Move our hand. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening to say thank you. Thank you for all you provide and the path that you show for us to travel over. We pray that you'll be with us tonight as we conduct the business of the county, specifically animal control, and continue to try to make things better. With your wisdom, with your grace, Lord, we shall do that. We want to take and Palestinian people and the conflict that's going over in the Middle West. We pray that you will be with them, hopefully some type of resolve. We pray for peace for all sides, Lord. And we also want to remember our friends and citizens from the hurricane. There's much destruction and that's been done, and we've been life lost. And we pray that you'll be with those families, help them through this tragedy, let them lean on you to get their strength, Lord. All these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Just one second, let's just take a
Put me in receipt.
One second. This is guy.
Take that down.
Another guy. It was last second. We prayed about the call for prayer.
Have the dog ears and do this.
Yeah, just hold off right now, and I'll call you in a little bit. I'm in a meeting, but I can let you know. You're fine, buddy. I'll let you know. Right, bye. That was James. He's got COVID. He's not running the fever, so his question is, I don't have a fever. Can I come to work? My understanding is 5 days, and after 5 days, he showed under symptoms. He was at work. He don't want to be off. He wants to work. I mean, he's got plenty of time, but he'd rather be working.
Whoever finishes first, just go ahead and please
I'll make the motion.
give your motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Or okay, there you go. And then whoever finishes second. Let's go ahead and second. And the next second on the okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Recognition of the public. You call your name, you got 5 minutes to speak. June McMahon. McMahon. Is that right?
There you go.
Sorry about that. Well, the O on the end usually means something, but I couldn't tell if it was an O or an A. Go ahead and state your name and your address.
Yeah, I put my anybody else in the city limits, and Portland city limits, so I am in the county area. I just want to say that Sarah's family and I co-founded Sumner County Airlines. So I feel like I can speak if there are any questions about the clinic tonight. But before I get into what I want to really address, I want to ask Joe and Captain McCoy.
I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there. There's
Okay.
no question and answer time, it's public statements, but you could propose the questions and maybe we'll get around to answering it.
Well, let me just propose a
Just so you
question
understand that.
that maybe there'll be time to answer. I'm looking to find out, is there a designated intake person at animal control? And can we be expecting job descriptions? Just those two things. All of you know, so I'll give it before. You know that, there was a letter written by Sumner County Airlines to animal control 4 years ago that, addressed the issue or issues that were going on there. And we, because of the sick animals that were coming in, we said that we could not stay in the different animals anymore until certain issues were addressed. There has been some, well, it was reported at last meeting, that the reason Sarah wrote that letter was because she was upset and angry because during all the sick animal issues, some of our techs went over there to see if they could help, see if they could foster some, to see if they could help everyone. And that Sarah was mad because our techs went over there and she just wrote off that letter saying we can't take your animals anymore. This is absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. In fact, I got a text from one of the techs that was there that day. And she said, absolutely not, that is not true. Sarah was not mad, she didn't write that letter, she didn't chastise these techs, nothing like that. In fact, Sarah was over there herself helping. And we can prove that there were sick animals at that time. And that's why we couldn't take their animals anymore, because the sick animals were infecting our clients' animals. Sarah is a professional. She doesn't get angry and pop off a letter. That doesn't happen. So I just want to clear that up. Okay, now onto the letter. If you will notice that very first sentence, and please listen to this. Let me fly off somewhere else. So totally out of respect, please. Let's just don't do that. Until we can have a meeting and discuss the situation and the solution, we cannot provide Sumner County Animal Control services. Now, that tells it right there, until we can have a discussion and figure out a situation with a solution. All animals, there's been talk about animosity, bad vibes, bad juju, whatever, through animal control and Sumner County Airlines. That is absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. The ball right now is in animal control's court. They can address these things. These things here, this list, this little bulleted list, is what I pulled out of this letter of what we're asking to be addressed before we can start taking their animal control. It's that simple. The ball is in your courts to come and discuss these things. And these things are animal illness, overcrowding and stress on the animals. Cats get very stressed, get anxious, and then they get sick. Cleaning procedures, which I believe they have either working on or are doing that now. Medical protocol to care health if an animal has diarrhea, if it's emaciated, has fleas, ticks. This has to be addressed with the medical protocol. A plan for injured and sick animals so they don't linger there a day or two without care. Some kind of managed intake taken, I do believe that's being worked on now. An intake protocol for basic preventative care to include vaccinations, deworming, a short exam, that would cover coat, ears, legs, paws for once a month of infections and things like that. And I know you're not going to hire someone outside the sheriff's department, but someone with some knowledge of these things needs to come in and help to address them, not just a one-day thing like Dr. Sumner. And that's the thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kathy, you know the drill.
I know the drill. Hi, Kathy RLS, 231 Chipaway Drive, Gallatin. Just want to thank the committee for being here, and feel like we maybe dodged a bullet last night, but I'm happy we're all here for at least another 6 months and want to continue the work. It's important. I don't have a lot of prepared remarks tonight. I had a lot of things I said last night, and if anybody wants to go back online and revisit that, that pretty much takes care of a lot of things I had to say, but so I'll just riff a little bit here. I think it's important that all of us on this committee and the commissioners as well understand and recognize that change is happening in this community. We have a larger population. We have a different population, both from all spectrums, from wealthy to very poor. More is expected and more is needed. So we have expectations of things getting better, even from the point of where they are, kind of that congressional budget office, this was the line and how are we doing. So we really needed to get better from where it is in a static view, but we also need for it to get better as we know the growth is going to happen. And I know that's something for a longer conversation, but I think it needs to be recognized that we can get better now, but we're going to have to get better than better soon. I think June touched on it a little bit, that what we really need, she said that, she knows nobody's going to be hired from outside the sheriff's department, but I think maybe that's something maybe we need to think about as a long-term solution, getting a professional like a Sarah, and they're out there, I've met them, I know them, and getting people that really, that they've been trained in, that they understand. As animal care professionals, that is what we need long-term. I just want to give a shout out to everybody that showed up yesterday. Thank you so much. And just a couple of items that I noticed, the links on the Sheriff's Department portion of the Sheriff's Department website for animal control. The link for home to home is incorrect. And also today we try to use the phone to get the rescue button to work from when you call and you ask if you're a rescue, call this number, and it says it doesn't work. Just want to make sure that y'all were aware of that. And just, if I had one more ask, it would be, can we get a real website, not just Facebook links? I mean, and I can give you actual ones that are really, really good. We don't have to be just operating off of Facebook. If you Google, Sumner County Animal Control, you get various links to practically nothing. Maybe Pet Finder's a little better than it was before. And that was, when I started this, and I said this last night, they've been updated for 18 months, so I appreciate that they have done some due diligence on that. But we really just wanted to make things better. That's the whole point of this committee. We just saw a situation that was bad, and we're trying to fix it. Some things have been fixed, but it's a huge, huge issue. And as I said, as we are getting further and further into change in the community, we need to have recognition of that and make sure that we're prepared for that going forward. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, report of the chair. I just want to talk a little bit about last night, maybe a couple of things that were said here, but I thank everybody for coming last night. It bothers me that we were even discussing the viability of animal control ad hoc, because a lot of the members aren't engaged from the Health and Emergency Services Committee with what's going on with this committee. To be fair, I haven't given a report to the Emergency Services Committee either, but part of that is because things are moving so slow in this community. We haven't had a lot to report as far as milestones. We have a sheet that we'll talk about again tonight, which is a checklist of milestones made, but I'm going to start doing a more thorough job of reporting, even if it's something smaller, just what we talked about in health and emergency services, so that they don't have a reason to not know what the business is that we're doing. I appreciate our community partners and our volunteer citizens. They're what's driving all this. This is not a commission thing, because we're doing it because we're being called and told information. So I really appreciate how much information is coming out of the community. And I just highly encourage and hope to hear good things when it comes up tonight about the relationship with Sumner County and Neuter, whether it's on the plan or something happened recently, or that there's something in the works or an alternative plan being discussed internally. I wanted to also recognize Captain McCoy. Thank you for coming and showing up. It means a lot to our citizens that somebody from Animal Control and the Service Department, other than Lieutenant Matthews, who was appointed to be here, although I know he cares, or he wouldn't have volunteered to be the appointee, but it means a lot that somebody from Animal Control actually came. We've been inviting people for quite some time, and I know you're new to the group, and just really welcome you and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Anybody that has ideas on websites or things like that, he's here tonight. You can pass some information to him possibly after the meeting. So, with that, I'll close my chairman report, and we'll go into old business. I know we sent Lieutenant Matthews with some questions to get answered, and one of the main ones was just a review of the updated checklist provided by Team Shelter. Was that one of the attachments here, or was that just in the email?
Yes, sir. I may, Mr. Chairman, two things. Number one, you requested that to be done last meeting. It was done and sent to you. Yeah. But I've also got copies here for everybody, so you can hand those out.
Awesome. I was going to refer to my email.
And then also, Mrs. Committee Donna here also had some questions that she sent out.
That's going to be my next one. Thank you,
My
sir.
nasty one.
Those questions were looked at, and the answers to the questions are here. Also, copies to be sent out. You should have also received an email probably today, earlier today, with that information also. And just for the record, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to state it. I think I have a right to. My statement about Sumner Spade and Neuter is what it's been. It's 4 years ago, and it's in the past. So I'm going to agree to respectfully disagree with some of the statements that was made here tonight, and I'm done with that part of it. That's in the past. And all I'm going to do is continue to look forward. And
that's fair. I knew that was coming, and all it does is speak to the nature of the relationship, that it's still
no, that's just
out. Hopefully
it's going to and I've got a motion, if I could, Mr. Chairman. Yes, old stuff. Yeah. Like I said, we agreed to disagree. We got a difference of opinions on a few things, and that's fine. But what I would like to do is make a motion. I believe this is the correct thing, Mr. Chairman. Correct me, please, if I'm wrong. To suspend the rules. And I believe all your answers and stuff that you may need, especially off the paperwork that's here tonight, Captain Carl McCoy has that. Captain Carl McCoy, along with Lieutenant Tarlacki, and the Animal Control personnel have been working on stuff, so that's where all this information came from. And so I think officially, yes, we can, if I can vote to suspend the rules and turn it over to him and let him speak to everything he needs.
Sure. How much time do you think you'll need on this? Because if it's going to be like 45 minutes of talking, we may do part of it now and part of it another at the next meeting.
I will certainly move through and let you know what has changed, especially what's changed from the last time you received a report. And if it's something that needs more delving into, then by all means, we can move that to another meeting.
I want to ask the body, he made the motion to suspend the rules, and if we have a second, we can discuss whether we want to do that or not. I'll go ahead and second that, but now it's open for discussion, so, yes.
I just want to ask a question. Are you going to talk about what's different from this printout that's changed from you sending this printout, or is this the current intelligence on?
No, he's going to go through this thing.
Okay.
So that's that's the motion on the floor is to let him speak to these items, or the body here can decide not to suspend the rules, and we can go through it a different way. But I want to respect the fact that he's here to talk about the new changes and see what the body wants to do. How do we want to go through this? Go ahead.
I was thinking of maybe in the interest of time, because, you know, this is an awful lot,
Sure it is.
granted, for sure. And some things are kind of self-explanatory, yet some of the, you know what I mean? And some of the things, like, I didn't get this until, only like a couple hours ago, and I quick printed out and just made my own notes, and I only got to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, page 6, mid-page 6. It's an awful lot.
So to be fair, so everybody understands, I got this on Friday, and I did not send it out until today, so I apologize. I've been very busy.
Can we,
Can I just, in the interest of time, if we could, whichever way we go, if we could just, so we don't keep everybody all night, make a motion for a set time that we will end. If that would be
For the
fine.
meeting or?
For the meeting, for the whole meeting,
Yeah.
for the whole meeting.
Yeah, what time's it right now?
So that everybody doesn't have to wonder how long they have to.
Coming up on 6 o'clock. Do you want to,
7:15?
yeah, no more than 7:15.
We don't want to keep you all night.
That's,
We don't want to keep, we don't want to keep everybody.
all right, so
Keep
there's,
everybody up. If that would be.
so there's two motions on the floor now.
I'm
So
sorry.
we're going to set a set time. No, that's fine,
fault.
because
I
if that's what's contingent upon
That would be,
letting him go through it, and he thinks he has that amount of time, but there's other items on the agenda too. So
that,
concerned about what's not.
let's vote on the motion to suspend the rules.
I think
and
you
then-
can cover all three, Mr. Chairman, and he's prepared to cover all three of those in this information.
Okay, now I know there's lots of questions though, and so we'll discuss on how we go through that, on whether or not we ask questions along the way. Go ahead.
For starters, I want to thank you so much for being here.
I'm here for
Because
you.
it
I'm here for
is,
you, so.
yeah, it is, and something that is just a great message to the public and everything, and sometimes new faces, new people, it's a new day, and it feels like it's more kickstarting things, so, you know, kudos to you, and thank you very much, because every time I ask something, you help and provide it, so I want to acknowledge that as well, because it is, animal control is a big thing to wrap your head around, for sure, so it's very complicated and complex, so it's, I just want to make mention of that. But since this is your first time here, probably it's a good idea to have you have the floor and to go through everything as well. And maybe if there's because some things aren't like self-explanatory that we can run through quick, but if we have a moment that we can just say, hey, can you elaborate on this, and then move it that way, maybe we might move it along quicker.
Yeah, let's go ahead and vote to suspend the rules and let him have this, and then we can talk about how we're gonna do it. So, is there any more discussion about whether or not we want to vote to suspend the rules? Okay, so we have motion and a second. All those in favor of suspending the rules, so you can speak to this, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Captain McCoy, you've got the floor, and if it's okay, we're just gonna ask questions as they pop up.
That's fine. for
And
sure.
if it's a quick item that's self-explanatory, we'll glaze right through it.
Well, that's my intention, is to glaze through most of this until it's a point that I think needs to be made.
Great.
So the best practices book, we've read that, the National Welfare,
Question.
I'm sorry?
You tell them, raise their hand if you got a question, and I'll pause you.
The house playbook, we've just got through the best practices for animal shelters playbook. Now we're moving on to HOS, and that'll be kind of the difference between the two of them, and come up with our best practice there. That is in progress. The ASD checklist, I have that here. That is very intensive. Are moving through that now. Presentations for Sumner County, we've done that. And we're moving on to prior action steps, create a contract for a veterinarian on record. Dr. Miller, our current vet, shows up every Monday morning has been kind of a handshake deal, and we do need to get him under contract. And in the process of reaching out to some relief vets, I've seen some great examples of what that contract needs to look like. So I think we've got a better understanding and a better means in which to go forward with that.
Do you have a time frame for that contract, sometime in the next 2 months?
I would say, so relief vets are usually about 3 to 4 months out. We've got those coming to visit over the next couple, October, November, with Dr. Miller. I think we present that. I kind of like to have a plan B, unless he's like, if he wants to step away from the table and I'm still 3 months out from a vet, I've got a problem on my hands. So I don't know whether to continue with the agreement that we have currently until we have the relief vets that can, if somebody were to step away.
So to be clear, you're worried that the contract may not be to his liking?
I'm not, no, and he's a businessman and a great guy, so I don't think he would have objection with it, but I like to have the plan B where I'm not without a veterinarian. We went through a little period of that, and it's really hard to do what we need to do.
Does he know that you're working on some sort of contract?
Probably so. And I think the reason I say that is I think some of the relief vets may have reached out. One of them that we spoke to today actually wanted to come on a day that he was there, so she will be attending on Monday.
And I was just wondering, so I just want to be clear, so is the plan just to use the relief vets, or are we going to have?
No. I would still like to have a local vet, somebody that I could come to, a kind of after-hours thing, somebody can call, hey, this dog is not acting right. The relief vet, they come, they're like a traveling doctor. They show up with, maybe twice a week, and that way we're not going a full 5-day span or 7-day span without a veterinarian laying eyes on
I understand. Thank you for clarifying.
I have a question. About how many relief vets are we courting at the moment?
I have 3. I have 3 applications. All 3 of them are great. All 3 of them, they range everything from veterinarians that would do surgeries if necessary, if we had the correct space for that, to veterinarians that specialize in holistic medicine on a veterinary level. So we're going to meet with these people and get copies. We've got 2 contracts now, still lack 1 of those, but we're in talks with those folks. But we've got scheduled all 3 of them to visit in October and November. So,
are these 3 ones that you can alternate with in the event that some are not available, and then pin down a few if need be, or anything like that? Is that something, because again, it's only like twice a week, and if you need more, that's not filling in a week cycle.
No, you're absolutely right. So we would schedule these. It's going to be dependent upon their fees to us and the amount of money that we have for veterinary services in our budget. I hope that by better care in the shelter, shorter stays, then maybe that's less intensive medicine we have to provide for the animals under our care. So that is the hope, is to get them in there, get them, if they need, everything's vaccinated, comes to the door. That was a question earlier. Everything's vaccinated, everything goes through warning, everything goes through that process.
So we are 100% vaccinated?
We are. We have an intake area that is.
I have another question, and that might be very helpful too. And we said some can do surgeries, and, part of this is preventing intakes. I mean, that's the goal, is to prevent these intakes, and so our Achilles heel is a robust spay and neuter program. So if you're having some of these relief vets that are able to do surgeries, and they can do the spay and neuters, and that might be a plan B in the event, because I was going to ask that later on, about we're looking at only 1 relationship, and there's a lot of pressure on 1, an N of 1. But when you've got a pool of maybe 4 people, and I'm making this up because I don't know all the data, 2 out of 4 that can do the surgeries, now you're going to be able to start doing some robust spay and neuters on the dates that they can arrive and do that. So that may be able to be some of the solution to an ongoing problem.
You're stealing my thunder.
Did I? I'm sorry.
Okay, but you're absolutely spot on that, and that is the plan. I think that 100% spay and neuter going out is attainable over the next year or 2. I hoped, and the chairman asked about the relationship with spay and neuter. We will meet tomorrow with those folks, with Sarah and Ms. McMahon, and we will discuss this letter in detail. And I think that the letter that was issued 4 years ago will be put to rest tomorrow. to answer the question.
So the meeting is already scheduled.
It is scheduled tomorrow, that's right.
Okay.
And
Just
it's,
make sure and read the letter.
absolutely. Oh,
That's her big, read the
yes,
letter.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I've got 3 copies of it that
Okay.
have been dissected 3 different ways.
If you don't, plan on coming back next month, or if you do, either way, could you make sure that we hear back how that goes tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Send an email out or something. Don't make it a surprise next month, but I want to hear good things. If something good happens, and send us an email or something.
But I certainly believe that within, if repairing those relationships with our local spay and neuter clinic, and then having the ability to do some ourselves,
Sure.
I don't see how, even here we are on the 8th, we've taken in 20 animals this year. So it's been a busy month, and, but can I get everything spay and neutered? I think with the right resources and the right, timing with these veterinarians, and that's gonna take some scheduling. You know, I don't wanna do surgeries on Friday, and then not, the animal have, you know, maybe a day or two that they don't have veterinary care, so, something could develop. So that's what we're doing with that. So the relief vets are something that's certainly on the top. The emergency 24-hour vet, assistance, we already have an MOU planned up with Urgent Vet in Hendersonville, and then National Vet Specialist as well, that's on there. We've got the budget recommendations, we've got those things are in process. It's a matter of those part-time salaries and then the $70,000 that was going to be for vet services and medication. The budget for adoption and placement, the 3 staff hire, that was the 2 part-timers that we received, so we're good there. We're looking into those folks. We've had 3 applications. We should have much more. I don't know if our channels to pick up police deputies or police officers and corrections officers, if that channel is the right way to go. I would thought we would have more than 3. Yes.
A quick,
Go ahead.
sorry. Was
Look,
this,
look, everybody look this way just so we
I
can
know.
keep in order.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, go ahead.
I just didn't know if this was, how was this advertised? Because typically when there's any kind of position open to the public, how are these positions advertised so that people know to even apply? I mean, how does that work?
So naturally, the sheriff's office, while people usually look at the sheriff's office website for jobs in the field, to join our team, link would take those people to that. Spoke with Dr. Pisano today. We're going to share that link for the hire, what we're looking for, the part-time positions, and she's got a mailer that we're going to blast that out in the area, and maybe southern Kentucky as well.
Through what way?
The shelter team, Sarah Pisano, our consultant.
No, but the shout out to the blast is gonna go.
I think it's a mailer that she has, just big a nation.
Or like what kind of mailer? Real,
I think it would be emails probably to different groups,
like community partners and things like that?
I would
community
think-
groups?
I would
just wanna
think
make
so.
sure some of our folks here that are probably interested, that may know some people, have access to these mailers.
For the here and now, go to the Sumner County Sheriff's Office website, join our team. Right on there, it's gonna probably ask you if you wanna be a deputy or you wanna be a jailer. Well, I wanna be an animal care specialist part-time. And we would process that. Now, the same, there has to be a background for those people because there may be an overlap with some trustees, that are doing tremendous work, with our animals. There are computers in our building that are that have to be CJIS compliant, so that's probably talk for their police computers in essence. So we're going to try to make this process as smooth as we can. A deputy hire process is 6 months. We don't want to spend 6 months vetting somebody that's going to be working in our animal services.
Something CJIS computers, is that something that a regular person working as an adopter or foster care specialist would be in a police computer and have access to stuff that they need to be checked out on to have access to?
So my plan on that is all CJIS matters will stay on laptops that are assigned to the field officers, and then those laptops stay with that officer. If he's in his office, then he needs to take those.
But currently, they're not like that?
They're current. No, sir.
So you're gonna split them to make this possible to where these volunteers
I think so.
have access to this
I
stuff?
think so. I think our desktop computers run through a program called Citrix that you would have to have two-part authentication to even access. I don't think if somebody wanted to get in, they would have the ability to do so because I have to give you the password and then you have to verify on a separate device.
That sounds pretty simple for an IT specialist, but I know you guys got a new one.
We did think,
But we've got one now. Is that something that you think they can hammer out pretty quickly and not be a stumbling block to the hiring process?
I think so. I do. the hiring process, I think, can happen, with or without those IT things. I think that by the time we get that person in and get that training going, we just tell officers, you've got to work off your laptops, or you need to work off your desktop. You need to be behind closed doors. Or don't issue the new people the password so they can access those level.
Well, I want to give homework to anybody that's watching this or in the audience here. This group knows people that would be good for these positions. Please feed them the proper people that will pass background checks and will be good quality personnel for these type of positions that we've been clamoring for a year. So please feed them so they can fill these positions. Go ahead and do next, Terry.
So have you reached out to the vet tech school here at Ball State?
So
I mean, I would think they would.
we do, and actually work with the vet tech program a little. There are times that they come over, and when they're in that, the issue with that is they run a curriculum, and when they're not in that curriculum,
They can't come over and be in
when they need an animal to spay or neuter, we, by all means,
Right.
here's an animal to spay or neuter. There are times that we have to be within the window of that curriculum.
I think she's
And I'm
talking
asking about staffing.
Yeah,
If you could touch
So-
them, or maybe some of them would want to
I
come
think
over and be
absolutely, I think
employed.
that's a great resource.
If we could, send them
be
a.
like an intern for the program.
I would love to see a vet tech on staff that way,
Yeah,
or
I-
for
I- if
recess
we
when
could
they
get
come
them
in,
up,
they've
if we
got
could get them in the
a
door.
professional with
Yeah,
them.
I would, also for the group and for anyone listening, what's the pay? Go ahead and, let us know what everybody wants to know.
I know it's 32 hours. I know there's an infinite number of dollars that we have. I don't know that we've set an exact dollar. Yes.
Finite.
Yeah. Thank you. You're trying to sneak one in on that there. No. Yeah, so he's quoted $20 an hour. It is one of those things where, we can go beyond 30 hours. 32 is the part-time position,
Right.
at $20 an hour.
Just so everybody knows, if they know somebody, we don't want to waste their time, but they might be.
And these folks, if they're good folks in those positions, whatever, become full-time positions, they would certainly, I think, would have an upper hand.
Thank you.
Quick question about, getting the word out. I don't know if casting a wider net is better, like Indeed, when I was talking to Sheriff Craddock, and he asked me to get information on animal control directors and what criteria, and I actually found Maricopa counties, a bunch of different ones, and they do go through Indeed or wider nets, I'm saying. Because if you're only getting 3, is there an opportunity to have a wider net than just someone not even knowing to go to the sheriff's office, because animal control models are different throughout the country. So I didn't know if that's something that's, whenever you do need anyone, besides just a part-time for animal control or even other positions, that there's a wider net like on Indeed or some of the other sites where you can really attract.
You're right. I think.
Can we do that?
What would it hurt to put them out there? Now they're ours to disqualify or to take to the next level. I think part-time, if I ask somebody to drive 40 miles for a part-time job, they may not be interested, but.
But it might be like even Indeed locally, people are always looking, they've got their resumes, because again, we're very interconnected and.
And then you can plug in the search
And you can
criteria on Indeed and
plug in,
how far you're willing to go.
It's very, just really good site, search engine, Monster Indeed, all these ones. So that might be helpful in any position that we're trying to seek out. And there are some people who really want to be in Tennessee, who are coming from many different states to be here. So that's just in general, not just for this. If they can cast a wider net, that'd be great.
Okay, and I'll move on through this. We got to budget allocation that was outside my purview and it's being handled other way. They implement fee waived adoptions. So we have found unsterilized animals. We have to charge $25 by state law to get those rehomed. Anything that has been sterilized, naturally we can waive those fees. We're not in the business of making money, I don't think. I think we're in more of the business of moving animals to proper homes. And if I have to waive a fee to get a dog or cat to a good home, I'm going to make that decision every day. Discussion ongoing, ad hoc on the implementation fees waived for adoptions. We certainly would listen to the board if they had something to say about that. I think a lot of times we look at these fees and maybe try to recruit some of the money that we spend in the process. I beg that you look differently and think that this is, the longer I keep that animal in our shelter, the worse the wear the animal is going to be, and the more and more expensive it's going to become. the more and more or less adoptable it's going to become. Animals, that are in those environments, over a long period of time, they can go kennel crazy, as they, call it. And so I suggest moving the animals rather than worried about a fee for somebody to take it to a good home.
So to be clear, our state law requires $25?
We do. We try to negate that through these certificates and such. So if I adopt a intact animal and you pay me $25 and you go to spay and neuter and you get the animal sterilized, bring me the receipt back, then I can reissue that.
What's the purpose of that? Do you know why they require that? Do you know?
I'd say the whole shelter is feet from fire,
I know, but why?
It promotes spay and neuter. Because if we
So
didn't
in
charge
our law,
that,
it used to probably cover it, but they never upped the fee as
Well,
they
it's just a good way to cover yourself, you can pay $25, but how many do actually?
well, and that's not that's the best the state could give us at the moment.
It's a 2023 law. It's not terribly old.
Yeah, it's just it's a step forward, but it is the state law and we can't fix that.
Yes.
So they're asking for an opinion on something. Go ahead.
I did a lot of calling into different counties, and I did speak to the animal control director in Rutherford County, and they had a zero adoption, and I don't know if that is if there is a $25 charge, is the workaround that it comes out of a general fund, or how does that work? If they're able to do that at other facilities with a zero, they run these, specials too, I'm not sure how, that's why what I want to do is going to tell you that maybe you can reach out to him and maybe share intelligence on that.
I think what they're doing is it's 100% spayed and neuter. Once they're spayed and neutered, you can give them away for free. There's no $25. So in Rutherford,
I read it,
just
it's actually in the law that it is to promote spay and neuter.
Yeah, it's a good
basically like
thing.
a front-handed penalty and you get
Yeah,
it back if
exactly.
So
you
because
get
we
it spayed
don't
and neutered.
have a spay and neuter robust program and not spay and neuter, we have intacts.
We have a minimum adoption fee of $25.
So it's a good thing.
But if we spay and neuter before they go, then the $25 is a moot point.
That is, absolutely.
Okay, so that's the way we work around it, but we do it, so, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Would like ad hoc opinion, the state law requires $25 intact. I don't want to waive anything if they're not intact.
So
I wouldn't-
if I could,
No, if we send them out of there unaltered, then I don't want to send them out for free, because then they're going to stay unaltered. If there was a guarantee that they could get them spayed and neutered, then yes, I would say waive these adoptions, yes. Does that make sense?
I think I know what you're saying, but the point being is that in the lack of a full-time on-staff vet that can spay and neuter, that's why we have ones that are intact, and when they want to adopt, we don't have the ability to take care of that. So there is a $25 charge, because that's the missing piece to the puzzle that we have, or the conundrum that we're facing. And so the reason why is if we did it here before the animals adopted out, then the $25 thing is a moot point.
That's correct.
Right, no, I'm fine with that if we did it here somehow, if we did it through a travel vet or through some spay and neuter.
So we need to do that.
Good.
okay, so as far as like an opinion on that at this time, I think that would come down the road. If we were looking at a $25, it's not that much, but we could start chipping animals, and that would start returning them. So there's a lot of cost on the table. So that, I think, as far as having an opinion on that, I think that, and that's
I wasn't
long
sure
way,
the committee
yeah.
was aware of the law, and that's why
That might be.
I presented that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I knew that's why we did it, from early on. I just thought there was different opinions on whether or not that was enough to keep people honest to go get it done, because it's cheaper not to get it done and pay the $25.
Sure.
That's why we were having an issue with letting unaltered pets go into new homes, and we're breeding animals and stuff, so, that's where the discussion came up from the very, very beginning. I realize now that the goal was to try to get them spayed and neutered. I just don't think it's enough, to do it.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
But that meeting starts tomorrow with spay and neuter, and then we fix that bridge and fix that relationship, and now we're a huge step closer
We'll revisit
to
that.
making this a moot
Yes,
point, for sure.
thank you, yes, we'll revisit that.
Fencing plan play area for the animals, dogs, we do have that. That is a great program. We are working through some training. I was under the impression after looking online that was about $1,100 a piece. Now I see that that is not a complete truth, that that is kind of a trainer position, and I think we could probably, if we had a trainer on, now we could train trustees, now we could train volunteers, we could train our own staff, and not only provide a better environment for these dogs, and just how to read the body language of the dog, and which dogs are trouble dogs, and which dogs are going to be mending dogs. They're pack animals anyhow, so they all kind of have a place, even when they're strange to one another. So that's what this training is to make a safe environment for those animals while they're in the play areas, and it also helps acclimate dogs. And we know whether this dog plays well with other animals, and we can convey that to a potential new home, that this dog does do well with other dogs. All right, one dog per run, we've got that taken care of. We're shy of an absolute emergency. We're not going to double our dogs in the runs. We have 2-part runs with a door between them, and we can move the dogs back and forth as we're cleaning. And so we're not going to double up dogs again unless it's an emergency situation.
Did you just jump down? I lost you.
Fenced play in yards, established a gun with 1 dog per run, and then scheduled dog play for life training. That's the training that I discussed. Yes.
Okay, you flipped to.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Townsend.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to do by making the kennels two-sided, but, and the numbers are really down and reduced, but the numbers out that are being abandoned are up. And I see it at my shelter, Sumner County Humane. There were 20 dogs dropped, 20 from one person. And, I mean, they're just randomly dropping dogs now. So it's kind of, you know, I don't have the answer, but to just cut your kennels in half is a concern for me. And I don't, but that's.
Overcrowding and disease is also a concern, and I know what the shelter was built to house. We doubled it straight off the rip. We run into problems with disease and sickness and
Right,
issues.
but that's because there wasn't that thing to where.
I understand, and you know, I think.
It's a hard position.
It is, and I would love to have an in-depth discussion with you. I heard people say, if you don't pick these cats up, I'm gonna start shooting cats, but we're not responding to dead cats in the street calls right now. So I hope that's not what's happening. But I will absolutely, you know, in emergency situations, we'll take them. With the flood out east, we talked to some animal shelters out there, and they're like, we've got to get our adoption animals out of the area so we can house displaced animals here. And so there was a little bit of discussion there.
Even 2 weeks ago, somebody had found an injured puppy with couldn't walk on his back legs, and that kind of goes back to the medical, the emergency. And again, I don't know if you all know what they're telling people, but they told them, well, if you bring it here, we'll just euthanize it. And so they did bring it to my shelter. Just, I mean, again, those are things you probably don't know that.
That's
you
the
know,
past, we're moving forward.
No, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was 2 weeks. You know, I'm just saying, you know, maybe the front people don't know yet what all they should, you know, but they just simply tell people that euthanize.
Well, I don't think that should be, I mean, even if that's in result, that's not something that we would be pushing out, no ma'am.
Right.
Go ahead,
So-
Commissioner Boyd.
Along with pairing with that question, with people saying that there's not room and stuff, have adoptions gone down or the numbers are staying the same?
You know, I think.
Because I think this just addresses inventory. So once inventory is where it is, and that's not a really nice way to say it, but that's basically, we've reduced our inventory level of adoptable animals. And if adoptions are staying the same.
So to answer your question, I think that we're moving more animals, and I think
That's
we're
great news.
putting them into rescues. We're putting them into breed-specific rescue. We'll come and get this dog. We've got a beagle hound now that is older and has some fatty masses on it. It's a rough-looking dog, but is a sweet dog.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rescue taking control of that dog that specializes in senior animals. So we're getting those out. Now, do I get to claim that as an adoption? I get to claim it as moving an animal. I don't know that I'm putting that in your home, but I'm going to claim that as a win on our side.
All day long.
So moving these animals, getting them to responsible homes, get them to a better place, get them to a rescue that specializes in a greyhound or a husky or something that is that if I'm looking for that breed, that's where I'm going to start, is those breed-specific rescues. So we are,
Excellent.
I think the trends are going down, but I will say that adoptions are flying off the shelf. I think it's that we're moving better, more animals.
Thank you.
Yeah. That brings us now to midway, accepting visually unhealthy discontinue accepting visually healthy cats who were outside. That's a community cat program, and that is a whole new can of worms, a whole different process, and would take more time than to explain it. We need to revisit that when we do it, and
How's the city's taking that? Hendersonville and Gallatin.
I don't know that
They were contacted in the beginning when the idea came up.
I don't know that they're,
A couple of homes.
I've not heard any pushback on it. You've got the guys like, he needs to stay off my boat cover, I'm not having a cat on my new Cadillac, or whatever the case may be, but,
What I mean is like the city, aldermen and the city councils, how are they, taking this new approach that we're doing here at the county? I know that, Alderman Berdorf, I think, was, notified about this from the city of Hendersonville to try to share with the city, that alderman there to try to get them on board with doing this the way we're suggesting for best practices.
That's right.
But I don't know if you're getting pushback.
I've not received it personally. I certainly welcome anybody to contact me directly. If there's an issue with any of our city partners, or their leadership, their elected officials, let us know. I think there's a lot of data out there to prove that this is the best way. Ms. Mahan is the absolute, she's a cat expert. I would defer to her on a lot of these programs.
And what is the policy if, I know we changed the policy on taking in cats that are visually healthy, but what is the policy if somebody says, this cat comes on my car one more time, you better take it in, I'm gonna take care of it myself. What is the policy there?
Is it a healthy cat?
Yeah. Healthy cat and
I
scratching toenails down my car paint.
I see the point.
What is the policy there?
I think if we feared the cat was going to be actually harmed by this guy, if he's got it in a box and something like that, we don't currently trap cats ourselves.
Right.
We have on occasion, can now borrow a trap. We may send a trap out into the world to be done, but that's not we don't know that program at this point. And in reality, it's even been suggested we get completely out of the cat business. And I don't know if that's viable right this moment without good programs in place for these community cats.
I've not heard that yet. Come out of the committee or Dr. Pavone.
No. I think moving towards getting the community cats done the way the program is set up, that cat that the guy has in the box that says, if you don't take it, I'm going to drag it behind the car, whatever, we're not going to let that happen for sure. If it's a feral cat, it's not a pet. We need to understand that most feral cats are not going to be fluffy. And the best case scenario is we put them, you don't want to throw them into an environment or into a community that's out there that cat doesn't belong. Maybe a barn cat, maybe we put it in the barn cat program. And we do ship some of those to Ohio to get into those barn cat programs.
Or plug in possibly some of the cat programs that community cat program heads can come maybe help you take a cat or.
I'm not saying that a feral cat could not be made a house pet. I think that takes a lot of intensive trust with these cats and these animals. And we're not set up for that in our current situation.
I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying worst case scenario that you would take it rather than tell the guy tough luck.
No.
You can go pound sand.
Again, we don't have any concrete policy on that yet, because I think I need to talk to more cat folks before we delve into what is going to be our cat policy. Right now, it's probably like any other animal, we would take it, but if you have to draw a line in the sand and tell the cities and tell the folks that show up with these animals, these cats, that we're not taking a feral cat. We have purchased some equipment that makes that stay in our shelter, those feral cat boxes and their little cagey-like type enclosures. The hide box, that's right. And that feral cat's going to be extremely stressed out, and stressed out cats don't do well. And that's when disease, and that's when they get sick. And I don't want to be the problem for the cat that's been successful living on its own for however long in its life. Sure.
No, I'm saying, go ahead.
I'm going to circle back to something I think that may be very helpful to the sheriff's department and the animal control where you're located, because I visited once and I like for us to go back again and to visit. What I'm hoping, and I don't know if it's happening, you have big cities like Gallatin and Hendersonville. I'm the one who's been communicating with Hendersonville because if we're here doing best practices, well, hopefully that's going to get pushed out to every single Sumner County, individualized. And if that's happening, if it's happening, great. If it's not happening, maybe taking the lead to push out like an email blast memo. Here are the exactly what we've got, best practices, so that they're doing the best practices and everybody's in lockstep, because if they are, then we're going to be able to reduce intakes. We're going to be able to do certain things, and again, pushing out information because it's a lot of burden for just you guys to do it, but if everybody else is in lockstep, it's not going to get done and all working in cohort. So is that happening?
I think we get our own house settled, we get our policies in place, we get our best practices in place. The relationships between us and the cities are already there. It's in the warrant's office. It's in backing other officers up. Most animal control or animal services deputies or dog catchers, whatever you want to call those folks are, they're under the purview of the police department, which we already have those networks set up. So it's just a matter of pushing. This is the way we need to do things, going forward.
Okay.
So, I think we have to prioritize this very hefty list here, and once we get all this in place, then we push out what that may be to those partners in the cities.
So we'll see a decree possibly that this is our new way of doing things.
Yeah.
Or at least visit yours, well, we'll talk about websites in a minute, but,
Discontinuing testing cats for feline leukemia. And this is a tough one. A lot of the experts nowadays say, no, you don't have to do feline leukemia. You don't have to do feline HIV. However, some cat rescues require these tests to be done. So we're kind of at a catch-22 there, and I don't know, I really don't know. I have to defer to modern medicine on that, and it seems like some rescues want it. Certainly they don't want to infect their entire rescue with this. I get that 100%. So we're still talking with experts on this matter.
have you identified those that do and those that don't, and then you have a...
I wouldn't care to, I know of a few that have asked us if they've been tested, so, but I don't want to name any names tonight.
No, I just mean you guys already have that database and information away.
We're working on the ones that's the first question that come out, is have they been tested? Those hiding boxes we just spoke about, the next one down. Interactive toys, ball shelter pads, Kongs, and ping pong balls, soft beds. These are enrichment things that are absolutely wonderful for these animals. They're doing well with them. The treat box thing where you just rattle a treat inside of a can, or it doesn't have to be anything special. When the dog or cat gives your attention, you give them a treat. It's just an enrichment thing that's already starting now to develop relationships between the animal and the human, if they're not already in place.
Cat portals, that was done a while back.
Yeah, that has long been done, sure. All right. Pictures and shelter intake. Pet Finder we have migrated from an older pet shelter managing software to a new one, and that migration has been difficult. Some of our data that we noticed, and I just noticed it this week, pulled a report, and lo and behold, almost all of our animals were listed as sick or injured. That's not the case. That was the default when the data was transferred from the old one to the new one, and so we're going back off paper now and correcting that stuff. We're going to go back to the first of the year, and then as time allows, we're going to go back. This migration happened in April, so we're going to take it back to this and then try to correct everything.
When would be a good time to check in on that to see the new corrected results?
I would hate to show you our current result. If I run a report today, it looks like everything we've got sick, and that's not the case. It's a computer default error. I think when the information was changed over from the one shelter management software to the other.
So
I'd say we could get that done by the next month.
By the next month?
At least back to the first of the year. That's what I told staff today when I walked out. I said, well, as we can, when we're not taking in animals or caring for animals, let's work on this little by little.
The more concerned is the current ones, right? I mean,
Yes, sir. After that April-ish exchange, when we started going from that one and working solely off the new software at Sign, it was prior to, as that old data came in, it was archived in the new system. and the information was just a bit skewed.
So when you look at Pet Finder today, to notice
When I say that,
inventory,
right.
is it current?
So the Pet Finder, she mentioned that, that we did have a, home was wrong. I noticed that today myself. It's been corrected, if you'd like to check. We have an IT man that covers the entire office. We have two now, so we're starting to get some things done. Our IT guy, the tech is actually in East Tennessee, standing up, Starlink receivers, so those folks can get some services out that way. So he should be back, end of the week, and then we can start sending stuff through his ticket system. But the Pet Finder was not uploading photographs because of the new software. And so we would take photographs, we would put them in, they showed up fine in the old one, and then when the new one goes up, it would not, and it showed up as an issue on Pet Finder's side. So we're having to go in and backdoor manually list all these photographs. And so we are working, our specialists there that work at the desk, the girls are working very, very diligently to try to keep that up to date. And will you pull up a pet that doesn't have a photo on it? Yes, it's possible. But as soon as they realize it, they're finding those pictures, off of their phones or off of the social media where the animal's been posted, and they're having to backdoor load these.
So I lose my dog next week. Is there a good chance it's going to be on there next week? When you guys find it, it's all going to be ironed out by then.
I think so. I think
photos are going to be right.
Of course, we have no control of the Pet Finder side. Our IT guys ensure us that it's not on our side, and we have sent the information that way to see. And I don't know if, again, it may be something, maybe we're running some different software than it's used to working with. But if we have to tweak something on our side, we'll be happy to do that. We have some latitude when it comes to adjusting our system.
This will be something you know more when the IT guy gets
I
back.
think so. I do.
If that's something that you could send an email out that just says it got corrected or we figured out what it was or something like that, just so we don't have to wait till next month's report.
No, breed, weight, and all that stuff is showing up accurately. It's just the photographs that aren't posting.
That's the most important part.
You're right. You're right. They look at that for sure. Yep.
Even if it's something as simple as use a phone to snap a picture and upload it to a website on an iPhone or something like that. Go ahead.
Okay, which segues into, this was one that I really wanted to hone in on when I put an asterisk right here. What I would love to see, and since we have IT people, and we've got a number of people that have been hired, Williamson County has an animal control website, it is its own standalone, and I think we're so reliant on these little Facebook things and little Pet Finder things, but most of the time you're going to find people are going to go to animal control websites and see all of the available adoptables. And what's probably going to work really well too is that you all made it in-house, it's all compatible, it's your own software, and you can update it in real time and immediately, and you can feature certain pets of the month, and there's some, especially with pits, they're the hardest to adopt, and they're great dogs, because I've had them myself. And they can even have maybe like a photo where they have the little cute, that's what I do with the flowers, that one girl did that, and it makes them more adoptable. There's different things that can happen. So what I would love to see, I don't know how long it will take to build, but you've got an IT specialist, it doesn't take very long to do, and now you have your own bona fide standalone animal control Sumner County website. Can we get to there?
I will certainly discuss that, and I tell you, I would love to see that happen. And if nothing else, we have the link on our sheriff's office website that hyperlinks you to that standalone website. The only problem that I can see is that we've got to be careful with the cybersecurity on the CGIS system is going to be well beyond I can even explain to you. That is IT stuff, and they're very serious about systems that hold our criminal histories and those things that are very, very protected. So we've got to be careful about that. Now, can it be done? I'm sure it can. If it needs to be done completely standalone, then there is, if it's a matter of buying a spare computer that's not hooked into our internet with the sheriff's office, maybe that's something we can visit.
Didn't you say you were going to do that previously?
We were moving the CGIS computers onto the laptops. We have ruggedized laptops that are coming. We're running some below that laptops in cars and taking vibration and heat and cold, and they're just not designed for that. So the ruggedized laptops are coming that will be able to be kind of standalone. They have cradle points in the cars that will help for the transmittance from that. Once we do that, then maybe everything in-house can be moved away from those CGIS compliance.
I'm confused about that for a second.
Yep.
Just for a moment. All these other counties do, are they able to do a standalone? And is it, and then this is where I'll go into another discussion. Is it because we have inmates that there's this link into the sheriff's intelligence? I'm curious as to if other counties can do it
I think it's with
without.
all employees are sheriff's department employees, therefore there's no need for outside computers, they use their sheriff's department computers.
I'm not.
You have to get a whole lot more strict because.
I'm just talking about a website
Information.
itself that doesn't involve, like, how other counties do it. They have their own standalone.
They're not all run
websites.
by the sheriff's department.
So that's why I'm curious to know if you're doing this, the field ops is this, which is totally sheriff, law enforcement, et cetera, but then there's this, once it gets to intake and it's this component, it can be run in a situation where it's not involvement. And the only thing that I see that is the involvement would be inmates. So I'll table that discussion for another moment.
I will, and I'll have an answer before we meet again from our IT director. He would be able to break it down into terms that I could understand and then convey to people that aren't as tech savvy. What those compliance issues are. I know there's a lot of authentication stuff that has to happen between devices, and so I hate to even go into that's weeds, but I will get that.
I hope
That's my
that
question.
that'll sort itself out at the same time that we have, 2 part-time positions still, because they will be on computers, and they do not need to be on CGIS computers, so they could be on just a standard old computer with internet access. Let's keep going.
Rehome and the neonatal kittens, those are links that are on our website now. We've also pushed out there are a flyer or 2 inside of the Animal Services office there that kind of have some adopt a pet stuff that moves on to the next part here. The rehome, I think one of the ladies from the gallery that spoke earlier mentioned that it wasn't up and running, and I will double check that when I've got in, but I was told by IT that it was working before into business today. All right. That's at hometohome.org. Next one down, adoption and placement staff in place, creative volunteer programs. Certainly that is on our list of intermediate goals. New cat scale, we have one donated, that's self-explanatory. That new shelter manager is done. That's the one that's kind of thrown us a little bit of a wrench. But it does seem like it's going to be superior software to what we were running before. Those pictures, the link shows working here. There was an issue with the back and forth on the photograph uploading. And the last there under statistics, software, and technology, shelter animal count matrix to track trends. You asked about if our adoptions are up or down, and I think as this information is uploaded, right now if you run a report, it just shows that we have a bunch of sick animals, and that's not the case.
Right. Well, at some point in time, we'll talk about trackability and how great we can make things. It'll be easy peasy. But I do want to say something real quick, and thank you very much for protocols. And maybe that's something that could get pushed out to everybody, just the protocol stuff that you guys do. But there's a correction.
There is a correction.
Did you
Yes,
see
ma'am.
that? Yeah, I just want
There are a couple that once we send it out, and absolutely those need to be.
just because it's
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. I knew that when it went out, that was needed to be. You look at it for, I worked for him for 30 years, so, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, community spay and neuter program, again, that is, we should be able to do it out of the current budget. So the meeting was spay and neuter, and that is tomorrow.
And since you are meeting with them tomorrow, if I could interject into this piece.
Please.
From the county side and from budget and stuff, because they are a nonprofit, we can't do it out of our budget. We can't pay, if this is the community thing, we're going to try and do it out of our nonprofit giving because it's a nonprofit organization. So instead of out of your budget, we need to give it to them out of our nonprofit.
You're working on that.
I'm trying to get that taken
Thank you.
care of. Yeah, so I just wanted to update you on that.
Thank you.
And we can talk about it.
Sheriff Craddock knew about that going ahead, and I think he talked to Chairman Schultz about that on budget, but I don't think Chairman Schultz probably absorbed all that, but
but I'm taking care of it.
We'll make sure that lands.
Perfect.
I mean,
Good
I just gotta convince a few other people that that's the way
I
we're going.
understand it's a
Well,
process.
I think it was sorted out that way, it's supposed to happen, so.
It's still coming.
Well,
It's still coming.
So that brings us to the CAP management, community CAP programs, and, again, I think we need to revisit it. I think I did not realize that we had the community CAPs that we've got in Sumner County. And there are populations of CAPs, that I didn't even know were there, so they're pretty good about doing CAP stuff and staying out of the way. You know, I ride roads every day, or I did when I was on the patrol side of the house, and a lot of time at night, and I didn't see just an abundance of cats. You know, maybe down around the dam in Hendersonville I saw a bunch of cats, but there's more of them out there than we suspect, and they're making a pretty good living for themselves, whether it's being fed by people in the community or they're able to forage their own. But I think we just need to, once we get everything running to a smoother level, then we come back and I reach out with Ms. Han and we go through the cats.
Yeah, I just had a question. I know in the past that private citizens were actually cited for feeding stray cats, but that's not the case anymore.
I don't think it's a law. Maybe in
They,
one
I mean,
Tennessee
because
somewhere.
they said, well, you're feeding them, so now they're your cats, and then they cited them for
well,
it.
if they fight for feeding deer, you should.
Some big cat colonies, there's a bunch
Right,
of
but
people
they
that do
did
that.
used to,
Big
I
cat
mean,
colonies.
cite people for doing that, so, I mean, if we're gonna have these colonies, if we are, then,
And we've got people that go around from colony to colony and feed,
so that's not a
Samaritans, good
problem.
Samaritans.
That's just my question, that's not a problem.
It's not a law, and I don't know that it's an ordinance. I've not heard of it being a city ordinance anywhere either. Yeah. So, but anyhow, cats, I think we probably should revisit that and give us some time to get some other things, operational before we delve in. I think we continue. I'm not going to turn the cat away. I think the man's gonna go home and hurt. So we'll revisit that. The safety net, we've got some of that, the references are in process. The updated website is completed. The rehome, adopt a pet, the spacing was off on that, and I think that one's been corrected as well today. We had a link on there, it just didn't go to the right place. The volunteer program, got everything signed up, ready to go, awaiting communication from home to home on that.
Where'd you jump to?
I'm over on other safety net, sign up for and work with virtual volunteer to manage.
So I'm on those two part-time positions, correct?
It is, you know, our staff are pretty tasked now with what they do. Somebody asked who are dedicated intake personnel. Well, those are specialists, and it's about 2 folks in our organization that do it regular. That they do it on a regular basis, I should say. This St. Lucie, Florida, they have a pet licensing there, so their returns are going to be a little bit stronger than ours. That's there in the middle, other safety nets, mirror the return to owner program for dogs in St. Lucie, Florida. And that's in the playbook that I've been reading, and I kind of did some delving into this, and I think those numbers are skewed. I think this community in Florida require pet registration. So when the dog or cat came in, they scan them, we look up, and we know what the registration who this dog belongs to. So I think their numbers are something that I don't think would be super popular as far as pet registration in Sumner County. So I don't know that I think that whole thing should be struck. Now, that did have other parts about an animal control officer in the field, finding a stray animal, catching a dog, and talking to the mailman or the garbage folks, and we do that. There was another part in there, we get an animal back, and we find out who it is, or somebody says, it's my dog, but I'm elderly, I can't get out. We'll load the dog up and carry it back home. You know, we're usually not even charging people for the first offense of an animal.
Are you actually finding that information out in the field? Do you have scanners out there?
We do have. Every truck's got a scanner in it, sure does. We just purchased another scanner that's long reach for the dogs that are a little less handsy. You know, you can't get as close to them. A long reach scanner, and cats for that matter.
So walk me through that, just for public record. Like, you scan a dog and it does come up with a chip, and you're in the neighborhood of where that dog lives. What's the next step?
The next step, you know, I would think those officers may return, because I don't know how much legwork they can do from their phones or their computers to determine what that chip is. Home Again, I think it's one of the chip manufacturers, but there are a couple of them, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. But I know Home Again, that's the chips that I use in my personal pets. I have to register that with them. Sometimes the registration is not completed on the owner's side, so it's a dead end.
But if they find, let's say if they find out it lives somewhere in the neighborhood, a few blocks.
We give them a call right away.
You call them out there in the field.
If we're in the field and we can identify who the owner is from the field, absolutely. If we have to bring the animal back to the shelter in order to do that process of identifying that chip number, then we would give them a call and say, hey, we've got your animal, can you come and pick it up?
Okay,
And
that's always the procedure.
then if they're like, if I'm too old, I'm hurt, I'm injured, whatever, we'll load the animal back up and carry it back out.
All animals are scanned, those checked to see.
Every animal scanned multiple times throughout its stay with us.
Great, okay.
Share the donated food with pet owners in need through an outreach. I'm going to speak very highly of Lieutenant Tarlecki. He and I drove 3 pallets of food to a relay station to go to East Tennessee. Some of this food is going to be airlifted into parts that do not have roads. The roads are gone. There's that East Tennessee, they'll have to rewrite maps over what happened with that hurricane. So that donation came through a local Houndstown. They're opening a pet doggy daycare here in Gallatin, and they came to us with a sizable donation. I reached out to some partners that I had in the corporate world with Tractor Supply Company, and they were able to double the amount of food we were able to buy, and we loaded up 3 pallets. So we took that out east. I know that it was arriving Saturday, and that it was going mostly to Carter County. Unicoi had some problems. Greene County, which is initially needed food, they had donations come from elsewhere. So we do share our food. The only time we can't share that food is it's under the contract that we're with Pedigree, that we have to be careful about that because we're under contract to feed Pedigree within our shelter.
I'm glad to hear we got to do a big donation from Sumner County too.
Absolutely, yeah. That Houndstown in town and our Tractor Supply stepped up.
Wouldn't it be great to have, people don't know that, and that's something to really be proud of. So why can't the local papers pick up something like that?
We did a press release on it, and it's just, there's a lot of news. And I think, like media, like anything else, just here in Gallatin, Joe and I wear black bands. They're burying one of Gallatin's longtime investigators today. So I think maybe we chose not to blast it on ours just out of respect.
Yeah, but just in general, it's always good to share good news.
It is.
I
love
the community does, and also for this new business owner to step up.
Absolutely.
And that helps at least say, hey, we
Their
got
doors aren't even open, and they're already helping,
we got
their
a great
neighbors.
partner already in our city,
Field Services create a plan for veterinary care, address those sick and injured pets 24/7. Again, that's back to that MOU with Hendersonville Urgent and Nashville Pet Specialists. Follow with the Maddie's Million Pet Challenge. Once Field Services outcomes are analyzed, I think we're going to do most of our in-house training through Maddie's. They've got a great program. I have gone over. It seems like the training programs that I've read about are very proprietary. It's usually the same information, just a different point of view. But Maddie seems like that's the middle of the road. A lot of times it's free webinar type training. They have constant chat groups where everybody goes into a room virtually and they're able to bounce ideas, what works, what's not working, talking about trends and those best practices that I think even if we get best practices ironed out today, they're not going to be that in 10 years. So Maddie's is pretty good. So we're very happy to work along with those folks. The number of dogs, analyze those number of dogs, large calls responded to, and percent of time dogs was captured. There are a lot of calls for service. I ran a CAD card list of animal calls, and it's everything from deer getting struck to cows in the roads to vicious animals to cruelty cases. So we definitely need to and I work on that committee as well, maybe getting those calls reclassified with our dispatch so we can track those a little more accurately.
You have up here that you feel the need to respond to the lease law. Is that county-wide lease law? It's not just municipalities, it's the whole state?
State law, yes, sir.
Okay. That was just a suggestion, I think, from Dr. Pisano, because she's from a different state, some county dogs or country dogs, or just county dogs around. trying to treat it a little bit like cats. I think that may have been the wild that was on there, but.
And maybe Lieutenant Matthews discussed this, so most of our law enforcement partners, our deputies in the field, they go through that Code 3 Associates training. That is like an animal services, ASPCA, or animal control officer in the field, that is that training. It said the fear-free training with best friends. Best friends, again, they've got something similar to that fear-free is important. We want to get that so we can put that into the shelter there. And then that finder foster program, we probably are going to put that also. That's one of those outreach type programs that allows for people to check for their foster homes. Moves us over to the next page. We're 20 minutes out. Do we need to revisit this, or is there other things that the committee wants to hear from me?
Well,
I hate to keep on because I'm.
There was some items that Mr. Sopo had put out for questions that were coming in. Has any of them been answered through this?
Yeah,
Have we
you
got-
were close to where I ended.
Yeah.
Should we keep plowing through
Well,
this, or do
it's
you want to
really
talk about other stuff?
That's not too good. Ironically, some of the things that you're bringing up as we converse, it's kind of like almost organically relative to some of the stuff that we have on our list of to-dos anyway to discuss, so.
And I'll agree. I think that we're all working towards a good goal, and we're all doing it probably we're running like this rather than running together, and maybe we all finish the line together. But I do believe that a lot of these questions I do have answers for from these questions that were posed last time. But I have been working diligently behind the scenes, and I'll be honest. I know that there was people thinking, why is McCoy not here? And I had work to do before I could even come and be super well prepared for this committee. So I apologize for not being here. I did want to come prepared, and so I feel like I can at least now answer some questions for you folks.
We appreciate you coming. Do you guys want to keep plowing through this? Donna, is your questions are getting answered along the way through this process?
Yeah, I mean, there's some other things too, but this is just kind of going ad hoc anyway, so a lot of the things that we're talking about with the spay and neuter, again, these are the big,
They are big.
big core, what I call root problems, because some of these are symptoms failing to address the root. So if we address the root, then a lot of these other things go away on their own.
So what's the will about it? Keep on going?
I'll be willing to do that if that's something you want.
17 minutes left. Terry?
I don't have any pressing questions other than, I'm just,
Ms. Townsend, do you have other questions?
No, I thought we finished, in order to finish.
We had to finish the agenda, we just want to make sure.
Well, I looked at the agenda, and so these items are getting talked about here. Review of updated checklist is A. Discussion of status of the relationship, summer spay and neuter is B. And that's going on tomorrow. We got that date on that. We'll know more after tomorrow. Discuss on status of the goal of 100% spay and neuter. That is the main key one. That is the ultimate goal for this committee, in my opinion. And that will be addressed after tomorrow as well, and with the ongoing trial to get the covenants on board with that too, overnight.
if I may, can I speak to what
Yes.
you're saying too?
Yes.
With the 100% spay and neuter, it is a great goal. But if we can't get the animal spayed and neutered until next Tuesday, we don't want to keep the animal in the shelter from Wednesday to Tuesday. We,
You don't need to send out animals that don't.
it is some, I've been reading the playbook also. So there is, I mean, it's not a good environment. It's stressful. There's all kinds of things. If we can get them to take the animal on Wednesday and get it spayed and neutered next Tuesday, it is better for the animal. And if we're talking about animal care, we should consider it. So that's one of the items that we can revisit later as we get closer to that. But that is an item that we need to consider is the animal's care. And if it means, and if it's a cat and we can't, if it's the cat's too young to have it altered, then we can go ahead and send it out. I mean, either we trust people or we don't. I mean, they're going to have the animal. it's something I'd like to revisit later, if we want 100% out the door, or if, you know, if
Well,
it's
again,
more important to take their animal care.
Just shoving them out the door is not the answer. And what I continue to say is, we need quality adoption.
That's right.
And if you give them to just anybody, like I keep saying, I've done this for 40 years, they'll keep coming back. And then you've got a dog or a cat that's absolutely nuts, because it's been sent out and come back and come back. I had a dog at my shelter, 5 different homes that before it came to me, 5 different homes in a year. And, you know, so again,
So it's just, I'm just saying that I'd like to visit that idea of 100%, because that shouldn't always be the rule if we have some conflict.
I'll
So
keep that on the agenda.
if we could just revisit that at a.
I'll keep that item on the agenda, Kim, to put, item C, 7C on the old.
And I'm not saying not to spay and neuter them, I'm just saying if the schedule lines up and we have somebody willing to take them on Wednesday, I'd rather that animal be happy before its surgery. I'm just leaving it open
Can we
for.
all agree, let's keep discussing this, let's keep it on all business. Go ahead.
First
Mr.
discussion real
Sutton.
quick. Okay, the goal of 100%, well, we should really spay and neuter before they leave anyway. However, I think the question begs for me, and knowing and understanding timetable, if it's up to 5 days before, we shouldn't be waiting up to 5 days to have someone spay and neuter. I mean, the goal is to be able to have veterinarians that are be able to be responsive as soon as we are able. However, when an animal is spayed and neutered, there most likely will be some kind of time you want to observe them to make sure that the surgery is okay. So how much time is that between spay and neuter and time to hold just to make sure that they're healthy?
Well, I think that's our biggest issue that we've run in the past with spay and neuters, that we were sending sick animals to be spayed or neutered. And I think that those do have to be vetted. I think they have to be cared for. Now, obviously, a discharging cat that's got something going on the respiratory side, we need to monitor that cat. Law says we have to have it in our custody for 3 days before we can do anything with them. I would hate to take somebody's prize sporting hound and neuter the thing because it got out, you know. So there are some things that we have to you know, stand. We have to take the legality section. The sheriff at the time always said 5 days. He wanted to give the people of Sumner County, if they're gone on vacation for a week, then we will hold them for a couple extra days to get it back to the owner in the condition that we received
well,
it in.
I think the law says 3 days without tagging, 5 days with it.
Yeah, that's what we've always experienced is 5 days. But there are going to be animals that are too sick to go into surgery. We're going to have a veterinarian come in and say, this animal's way too old to go into surgery. Those are things that we have to ask, what is the timeline on that? I think it's going to be depending on how often we have the relief vets in our facility.
But in that, everything in my mind, I mean, is very logical. If an animal is too sick to have surgery, they're too sick to be adopted. So those are tabled and not available for adoption. But say, for example, you have someone who says, look, I love this little boxer that's here. We're going to stay and neuter, and you can come pick up on X a day.
Sure.
Animals, they could develop the spins, and they're not adoptable because when they're confined too long, but that's a certain amount of time. So if it's a short window, like within a 5 to 7 day window, that's not really long enough for crazy making for a pet. If, you know, that's going to, again, everything is within logic and reason. Healthy pet, spay and neuter, come pick up at such and such a day. You've already secured this pet. We're doing this service for you and for the good of the community. And then you're also working within law. So everything to me can be done very logistically, common sensely, and also within a time. But the goal ultimately should be to have spayed and neutered out the door.
Definitely.
There may be rare circumstances, and to me that should be something we could
So
address.
that's why we're gonna keep this on old business, and we can talk to Dr. Pizzano, get their suggestion on best practices for that 100% goal. What does 100% look like? Is it really 100% of every animal? Is it 100% of everyone that is doable? You know, what is real definition of that 100%? We'll get some, clarification on that, and we'll keep it on this agenda. But I want to keep plowing and not get off on the ditch on something like that if it's something that we're going to continue anyway. Do you have something else you want to speak about? Or is it just...
Well, I mean, and again, we're so concerned about getting these animals out immediately, and that's part of the socialization, why you set up the fences and the toys for the dogs and cats, to keep them socialized, so they don't go kennel crazy, and they're not going to go kennel crazy in a week. So, you know, I just think we need to really think about the quality of adoptions and medical care as far as getting them out.
Well, and that's what we're doing, is we're trying, there have always been boundaries, and I know you're in the business as well, so I'm not, but there are boundaries. I'm not pulling a criminal history and a credit check, you know, I want to make sure that it's a good home and it's a good family, and, that it seems to be the right adoption.
Do y'all have an adoption application?
We have an application they fill out. It's not going to ask. I know some rescues they get pretty in depth in these applications, and I think that you know, that some people say that's a better home fit. Some people say that's more intrusive. So I'm not getting into the splitting hairs on that. I think we do have one. I don't think it's as in depth as some, maybe more lax than others. So. We do have return animals that have been adopted and that just can't cope for whatever that looks like, and maybe that was bad on our part. We made one. We took some Mad Ribbon over, a shepherd dog, and family loves the thing, so it worked out well. So I'm glad that that worked out to our.
Well, I mean, even with strict applications, you still have some that get returned.
That's right.
Would you like to see an adoption application?
Yes, I was going to ask you if you would
Could you
mind.
possibly bring one next month? Just the idea.
Would that mind? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, and, I had a man call me today, they adopted a dog 3 years ago, they couldn't get through to the sheriff's department. I said, well, I'll see the sheriff's department tonight, so I'll give you all his numbers. They wanted to return the dog.
From 3 years ago?
All of a sudden, they can't handle it, so, but anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, but anyway, so, but they couldn't get through today.
Okay. All right, let's keep on going, guys.
All right.
We got 10 minutes to.
Where are we at? Code 3.
Yeah, we're on, intake.
Intake policies.
At this time, if you could work this in, one of the questions asked by one of our public speakers was, do you have a designated intake person? And if you could work that into.
So I will. I think intake person and intake services are kind of interchangeable. We do have two specialists that handle that, and that's the vaccination. Everything is getting, I've got a list of vaccinations. We have been kind of at the mercy of our vet, who's been very, very helpful as far as giving us Tracy's vaccinations. Well, we've started sourcing those ourselves. We've got an intake area that we bring an animal in. We weigh that animal, we vaccinate that animal on an owner surrender if they are.
All your people are trained.
That's right. So this is a process. Is there a individual? No. Is there a process? Yes. So I think the intake process kind of supersedes the individual. It should be done the same each time.
Will it be continue the same for the, part-time positions? Will they be just another cog in the machine, and they'll also be trained intake, or they're gonna shift?
With the exception of rabies, the other vaccinations can be done by anybody. So it's not there's no medical background there. Naturally, you've got to know where to inject them in that. So we do get that basic training. But vaccination of rabies has to be done by a veterinarian. But the other vaccines are if you have a litter of pups at home, you can go to Tractor Supply and buy those vaccines yourself.
Go ahead, Commissioner Boyd.
Can spay and neuter do the rabies shot?
Don't think, can they? They've got to be on hand to do the surgeries. They probably.
That's only at the time of the surgery.
Right, at the time of the surgery.
Yeah.
If you could add that to your
Work
conversation
talking
tomorrow.
to you about one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, discontinue transporting and picking up cats to Macon County vet vaccine, and retro testing. We're vaccinating on intake, Dr. Miller doing rabies vaccines at the shelter. So everything that we have, at least worst case scenario, has to go for a week, shy of Dr. Miller not being able to make an appointment, and that's very, very seldom. Everything is vaccinated within a week. I would like through relief vets, or maybe through those spay and neuters, get that sped up. We don't have animals that could potentially be.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Sokol.
We're talking about policies for a second, but I do want to take a moment to say thank you very much for providing policies, because we were looking at that and needing to see, because we're moving blindly without seeing things. So first of all, I want to thank you so much for that. At some point in time, because it's going to be lack of time, and we revisit these things, what I do want to see, and hopefully see, and it's not in here, and it's something that I really want to discuss in more depth, and that will be something hopefully on the next agenda. It's going to be the topic of inmates. Number one, they're an integral part of your whole operation on the intake side. And so what I'm wanting to see, and I didn't see, which I was hoping to see, is policy on inmates, because how are they overseeing, what does that look like? Because that is an important thing that's omitted. And we'll talk further, more on that particular item. The other thing with regards to inmates, I know that we keep saying that they're free. And this is why I always like looking at measuring things, especially if you did time and motion studies. You'll ultimately find that the cost of the inmates, not only to the environment and the intake process, and how even an ordinary citizen feels when they get beat in, there's so many controls. It's very restrictive for the people wanting to adopt. It's not, if you go to where I adopted my Elvis in Nashville Humane Society, it's like beautiful. You walk in, it's friendly. The environment is so conducive to adoption, and everybody, and how, if you have not gone to a National Humane Society, do pop in there. It's just, that's the kind of environment I think that's conducive to adoption to begin with. So to me, there's what I call Achilles heels or root things that probably need to be skewed in order to open up opportunity for more volunteers, any and all times, a much more welcoming environment. You're looking at inmates. There are 3 top risks, which I concur, that risk of escape, risk of medication taking, because they're there, they're controlled substance even for humans, and animals get those too, and also animal abuse. So to me, why would you want to even entertain those risks? And I need to get my thoughts out here on this topic very quickly, point by point. And then if you look at inmates, they have to be babysat, because there should never be a time where they're not being overseen at all, period. So that requires time and motion, a van, gas, mileage, a deputy, somebody skilled to be able to take these inmates and migrate them from the 2 every day. Calculate that every single time they go, and you'll find a time and motion study that they're not free, they're very expensive, so that money's cost would be able to go for more volunteers, that you can pay the $20 and open up that stream. So to me, and have more part-time staff, because you don't have to pay them, healthcare and all the stuff which I call unfunded liabilities over time. Now you got your 32 hours, you open up a whole plethora of volunteers, you could change that whole, make it a happy environment that mirrors what I say good looks like. I'm only using National Humane Society because that's really what good looks like when you go there, and I hope you do. But in that respect, I think a lot of times we're going to address roots. So one ask that I have is measuring the inmates' risk and cost versus benefits. And then you go over here and you say, well, I can get all these volunteers, and I'm going to look at that cost, and I'll bet you any money, just by assumptions and what I can foresee and calculate in my mind, that you're going to find you might even save money here, and you might get more adoptions, and you may have more programs and more ability to do all these things that we have tight restrictions for. So that to me is addressing one route that may open up so many more opportunities that we're very restricted at the moment to do so. So I'm really hoping that we really look into that dynamic and just make it, again, field out. And then this is more of a situation where it's very different from, you guys do this great. And in here, it's like, how do we open up the doorways to have all these great programs? I met 2 of your staff, and they had these wonderful adopt at night, have at night, the dogs that could go home with people at night. All these things that are done with that particular model that I'm articulating is done in Nashville, that door's shut because of inmates that are there, which probably is integrating some of the things that we might have a website problem we can't do here. So once you remove that, now you've established the ability to have so much more, and all these programs that the door is closed to us for. So that's what I'm hoping to see. And lastly, I did provide, because a lot of times what I say is, when I'm identifying where's the Achilles heels, it's always having the right structure, foundation structure, protocols, etc. And then it's also the right people in the right positions that have, and I can tell already, you have a very keen understanding of things just by being here and you speaking so eloquently and in real time giving us answers, which is just, yay, it's great. I love it. And so having the right people there that to me is always critical too. So the qualifications, I have them, I'll give them to you. I did give them to Sheriff Craddock, I believe he's out of town, might not be able to share those things with you. But I'm here as a resource, and hopefully you can speak to anyone. I will do and look and help in any way I can, because at the end of the day, we can be the most incredible county. I don't want to say, can we be like Williamson County, or could I don't want to people say we need to be like Sumner County and be the beacon. So if we can do that, that to me would be the ultimate goal, and a sharing of intelligence back and forth to make that happen.
I'm on a point of order, we're either gonna have to have a motion to extend the meeting, or we're gonna have to conclude at this point and continue on this list next month. So, what is the will of the body? I think we're gonna continue regardless, so I don't wanna be rude and cut you off, but we did make a strict, time limit, so we have to extend it or we have to continue.
So, and the reason I brought that up is because we are bringing in county employees, and I do appreciate you coming, but everybody has, and we have staff, and we have everybody else.
I appreciate you bringing it up.
But it has been a great conversation, but I think, this meeting started at 5:30, where we are just gonna be like 15 minutes short of 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's,
So then we'll know more about what the meeting and stuff, and we can continue that in,
I agree, it sounds like a consensus is all is okay with you guys, we just cut it right here, and we'll continue on. I'd entertain, well, first of all, I'll say this for the public, second, Tuesday of the month for November, so that will be, let me get that right handy, it'll be the 4th, 5th, 12th. November the 12th will be our next meeting, unless anybody has any, known conflicts. So that, we're gonna go ahead and say that, November 12th.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm not here, I do have a trip planned that week, and I won't be here, but please don't think that it's me just stopping by and leaving again. I will certainly, I can convey information. I feel I have complete confidence in Lieutenant Matthews. I do want to continue to come to the meetings.
Okay.
And it would just be that I'll be in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, with a bunch of big dogs.
I understand.
can I suggest we could change our date?
What,
There's
is it the whole
nothing-
week you're gonna be out?
Yes, yeah,
We could do the first Tuesday, I don't believe there's any committee meetings.
Election day.
Oh,
No.
I mean, for some folks on it.
It's gonna be tough in November to move the dates around because we got so many days.
Yeah, so we can, it was just an idea, but yeah, the calendar is,
We're also out that.
the third
Veterans Day.
Tuesday will be the
I was gonna
19th.
ask about that on Tuesday.
The third Tuesday is the 19th. Anybody think of anything on that? We could tentatively put it on that, third Tuesday, the 19th, and if anything comes up, we can cancel or change it. That's actually the week before, so we're okay for the holidays and stuff like that, right? Just 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wow.
Actually, Thanksgiving's the 28th, so it's the week before that, so we're in the clear on that. It's on Tuesday, so we're in clear of all the meetings. Is everybody good with that?
Mhm.
Okay, let's shoot for the third Tuesday in November. Yes, the 19th.
Is that a 5:30 start as well, sir?
Yes, 5:30. We'll set that. And then we'll continue on this list, and I've got a couple items that we'll add on to the agenda that will just kind of fit well with this. But, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
We got a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for coming.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. And by the way, I saw you and your husband ride around New York, your little buggies, about 2 weeks ago. Your little buggies were going, of course,